Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today our group will be presenting the result of our discussion on the topic of the era of Umar bin Khattab. Before we begin, I would like to introduce the members of our group that consists of 5. First, my name is Naila Alexa, and then there's Momo, Neza, Kawari, and Rania.
First thing we'll discuss is the state of Islamic law after the Prophet. After the death of Nabi Muhammad, Islamic law entered a new phase as revelation was no longer available as the primary source of legal rulings. This situation created significant challenges for the Muslim community, especially in addressing new issues that were not explicitly regulated in the Quran and Sunnah. Therefore, there are efforts to preserve and develop Islamic law by adhering to existing teachings while also engaging in the ijtihad as a form of legal reasoning. During the leadership of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, the initial foundations for the development of Islamic law were established within the community, address conflicts such as the Rida Wars, and initiate the codification of the Quran. Thus, this marks an important transition from the divine revelation to active human interpretation in the formulation of Islamic law.
Thank you, Kari, for explaining the Islamic jurisprudence after the era of Prophet Muhammad. Now I'm going to be explaining about Umar bin Khattab, who is he and how is he as a leader during the Islamic law development. Umar bin Khattab, the second caliph after Abu Bakr, is known as Imam al-Mujtahidin due to his significant role in the development of Islamic law. He was not only a political leader, but also a legal leader who was firm and adaptive. As a mujtahid, Umar had made legal decisions through ijtihad while remaining grounded in the Quran and Hadith. However, he did not always follow a literal interpretation. Instead, he adapted it to the conditions of their society during that time. For example, he suspended the punishment of hand-cutting for thieves under certain circumstances and no longer gave zakat to converts, or you can call mu'allaf. These decisions were not deviations, but rather efforts to achieve the tahqiq or public welfare in accordance with Maqasid al-Sharia.
Okay, now I'm going to continue to talk about the sources and methods of law during the time of Umar bin al-Khattab. So the method of formulating law during his caliphate is judges during Umar's time referred first to Quran. If they did not find such a ruling in the Quran, they would seek it in the Sunnah. However, if they still did not find an answer, they would consult to the fuqaha or jurist scholars and mujtahidin, asking whether any of them possessed knowledge from the Sunnah regarding the issue at hand. If such knowledge was found, they would adopt it after verification and confirmation. One of his examples of his ijtihad is in the Quran. There's a provision that permits Muslim men to marry women from the people of the book or Jewish and Christian women. However, during his time, he prohibited such interfaith marriages in order to protect the position of Muslim women and the security or confidentiality of the state.
Moving on to the next point, I will explain about how law was implemented during the era of Umar bin Khattab. First, the judicial system during the era of Umar bin Khattab became more independent, with judges separated from executive power. This shows that law was already institutionalized and not based on personal authority. Second, in terms of administration, Umar built a more structured system by organizing financial regional governance, making the state more systematic and accountable. Third, in social and criminal law, he applied a flexible approach through ijtihad. For example, punishment could be suspended during famine, showing that law adapted to social conditions. Lastly, Umar introduced key policies like the Shura Council, taxation, and social welfare programs, which aim to maintain justice and stability. In our understanding, law during his era became more organized, adaptable, and more focused on achieving social justice.
Now we will be presenting the general findings and impact from our discussion. First, there was a major transformation after the time of the Prophet. Legal development shifted from direct revelation or wahyu to ijtihad, meaning scholars began interpreting and reasoning independently. At the same time, the Muslim community grew from a small society into a large empire, which required more complex legal solution. Next, during the era of Umar, we can see that the Islamic law became flexible but is still rooted in Sharia principle. It was also contextual, meaning decisions were adjusted based on real condition and societal needs. These developments had big influence on the growth of fiqh, shaping how Islamic law continued to evolve in later periods.
That concludes our group presentation. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.